start by telling us about your initial role as a solutions consultant?
My role wasn't solutions consultant.
What was your motivation to go into architecture?
This role enterprise.
What were the biggest challenges that you faced during this transition?
Although in the past I had experience.
Hi everyone, I am Khushbu Sheikh. I am the founder of this community Tech Exploration Hub, and I'm really excited because this is our very first session, and we have Rohan Ghosh, who is the Enterprise Solutions Architect at AWS with us. Now, the whole idea behind starting this community is to help people who find it very challenging to make career transitions or change job roles. And Rohan here has a very interesting career trajectory, moving from a solutions consultant role to a solutions architect role. So I'm hoping that we can all learn and grow from his experience. And with that said, I will let Rohan give a brief introduction about himself and his past experiences before we dive into the Q&A.
Hi everyone, my name is Rohan, and right now I'm a solutions architect at AWS. So when it comes to introduction, I did my BTech from Heritage Institute of Technology, and my passing year was 2016. So I did BTech in IT. And my first job was at Ericsson, and I joined Ericsson as a software developer. So I was a Java developer there. And from there, I appeared in a few tests like Elitmus and AMCAT because I was looking for some better opportunities, And my score was good enough. Like in Elitmus, that time I got over 90 percentile, and that was good enough to, getting shortlisted for the interviews. So I got shortlisted for Cisco, and yeah, you need to apply for jobs once you have a score. So I applied for Cisco because I've always had, interest in all the networking hardwares and everything. And also back in college days, networking was my favorite subject. So got the call, and then I cracked Cisco. I joined there as a technical consulting engineer. So previously, the name of the role was TAC engineer or technical assistant center engineer, which is basically, the support engineers within Cisco. So I used to provide support for Cisco collaboration devices like telepresence devices, CUCM, those services and systems. And within Cisco, I worked for 2 years, and I gathered experience in networking domain, and then I applied in Google. So Google was building their technical solutions engineering team, which is also their support team in Bangalore, and I interviewed there, and I got into Google, and worked in Google for 1.5 years. And after that, I thought, okay, enough of support work that I have done, because I wasn't finding anything interesting in support after working within support role for 3.5 years. Then I started looking for opportunities outside India, and I applied in various places, and I got called from some, and I cracked Accenture interview in UK, and I came to London, and I joined Accenture as a cloud consultant. So my primary domain in Accenture was Google Cloud and Azure, although I primarily, mostly worked with Azure when I was there. Then, after working there for 1.5 years again, I got called from AWS, and the role was Enterprise Solutions Architect, which was fitting, my past experience. Like I had experience as a software developer, then network support engineer, then cloud consultant. So in Solutions Architect kind of role, you need a mixed experience. So interviewed there, and yeah, it's been almost 2 years I've been working here at AWS as a Enterprise Solutions Architect.
Wow, that's great. That's interesting. Yeah. I remember we've spoken when you were, doing the certifications for AWS. So it was great sharing experiences. So my first question to you would be like, can you start by telling us about your initial role as a solutions consultant and what motivated you to transition into this solutions architect role? I think you kind of like covered it, but do you want to specify?
Yeah, sure. I will get into the details. So my role wasn't solutions consultant, it was cloud consultant. And yeah, I mean, you can also say that it was solutions consultant. So my role was to, it was kind of an end-to-end consulting role. So my job was to, create the architectures using, cloud, it might be Azure, might be Google. And once the architecture is approved, then I had to create the infrastructure using infrastructure as code. So it can be Terraform, it can be any cloud specific infrastructure as code things as well. Like in Azure we have ARM templates. In case of AWS we have CloudFormation. So after building the infrastructure, we used to deploy that in test stage prod environments, and on top of that, then the final software used to be installed.
Mhm.
So the role was a mixture of cloud architect plus DevOps engineer, because when you deploy the infrastructure, it had to go through multiple, proper DevOps practices and tools, like the CI/CD had to be maintained. So 50% of my task was, the role was about the DevOps engineer as well. And then some sysadmin part was also there, because when you have virtual machines deployed, you need to install the software there using, Ansible or any other configuration management tool. And once you have software running there, there are lots of administrative, responsibilities comes with, maintaining the virtual machines, like log retention, disk management, memory management, all these kind of things. So yeah, 20% of my responsibility was also to work as a sysadmin for you know there. So it was 100% hands-on role, like where I was developing and deploying infrastructure on cloud. And then the role where I transitioned right now, it's solutions architect. So it's not a hands-on role. So it's a pre-sales role. This role is also known as pre-sales engineer in many of the other organizations. So here we work in the sales org. Whenever any new feature or new product or new solution is released, we organize events to make our customers aware of the new offerings, and then we organize workshops, immersion days, and those various other events to enable the customer so that they can use the new technology and offerings. And along with that, we have dedicated customers, and uh, we work as a technical advisor for the dedicated customers as well. Like if they have any questions related to AWS, their best practices around designs and implementation, we provide those guidances, but we don't do anything hands-on. Like we just work as an advisor. So yep, that was my role as a solutions
Um,
architect.
so you were comfortable like moving, I mean, basically like what was your motivation to go into architect? Because you wanted to be like the advisor for the customer, or like you wanted to move on from the hands-on?
So this role, enterprise solutions architect or solutions architect role at AWS, it's a very demanding role. So the fun part is that you have unlimited access to all the AWS services and solutions, and you are free to play with anything. You don't need to worry about the cost. Like you are deploying something, maybe you are deploying a machine learning model to play with, and you don't need to worry about the cost. You can play, you can gain experience, you can become an expert in your choice of field by just experimenting with things. So it's a huge freedom. Unlike if you work as a consultant in a service company, you are doing experiments with the infrastructure, but there is money associated with it. It's not free. If you are deploying something, it behind the scene it incurs cost. Whereas in
Right.
this role, it's fun. I mean, we create. I mean, I still do coding. I create POCs, prototypes, softwares, mostly to try out the things what we offer. Like we also have a lots of generative AI offerings. So generative AI is the new
Yes.
buzzword. It's so we build small POCs that we show to the customers, like how these can be utilized. So yeah, it's a fun role. I mean, I don't have any commitment of any delivery, but at the same time, do all the experiments and advise the customers whenever they need it. So that was my motivation, behind switching to this role.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, sounds good. So, what were the biggest challenges that you faced during this transition? What were your biggest challenges? Yes.
Yeah. So, although in the past I had experience with networking and software development and customer support, but this role, uh, as this is a sales role, You really need to be a good communicator. You need to have a good stage presence. So yeah, these are all the additional responsibilities that come with this role. I mean, you being technical is not enough. You really need to be a good presenter in this case. So as all of my roles, past roles were delivery roles or support roles, I never had to do any kind of presentation or those kind of things. But here in this case, as a solutions architect, we present to hundreds and to hundreds, even in big events like AWS reInvent, people present to over, thousands of people. So you
Right.
really need to, enhance your communication and presentation skills. So that was the toughest part. That took almost 7, 8 months, continuous practice of presentations and all those kind of things, getting, rid of the what the fear of the,
Right.
presenting at stage. So yeah, that was the hardest part.
Okay. Yeah, sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Were there any particular skills or knowledge gaps that you had to address, like while you wanted to move into this role, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, so definitely there were knowledge gaps as well. So in this role, for example, AWS has over 220 plus services. So certainly one cannot be expert in all of this. Maybe you can be a good expert in 3 to 4 services, but being an expert in all these services is really a tough thing. So initial challenge was to get familiar or at least have level 200 knowledge of all these services. So that takes some time. You need to do certifications, then you need to do hands-on with various, services that we have, interact with customers to understand what are their requirements, what could be the questions coming from them, because you need to answer the questions then and there. So yeah, that was also a knowledge gap. So I had to become familiar with many of the services using which I have never worked. One example could be machine learning and data analytics. So I have never worked in this field. So that was a huge knowledge gap. So I took entire 1 year to enhance my skills in data and analytics. Now that was the initial year. And second year, I have started focusing on machine learning. So within machine learning, we have multiple fields. Like there are predictive models, there are generative models. So my focus is on generative models because predictive models, it's data scientists that they find these things easier. Whereas when it comes to generative AI, I'm not building the model. I'm just using it to showcase the capabilities to the customer. So yeah, uh, closing the gap in analytics and machine learning, that was also my focus in past 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. And how did you prepare for this role, enterprise solutions architect? Like preparing to give the interviews and things like that. Like, were there any specific courses, certifications, or resources that kind of helped you crack this job, like interview?
Yeah, so whenever I get any interview call, at least for 1 week, my job is to gather all the resources that are available in internet about that interview, or all the experiences that someone who has appeared in that interview previously. So I do thorough research on Glassdoor. I do thorough research on Blind. I search in LinkedIn for who has worked in that role, and I ping them to share their experience with me. So for 1 week, that's my job. I gather the resources, I bookmark them. It might be some resources on YouTube as well, because many people share their interview experiences there. So, yep, that was my first job. I gathered the resources. I took a whole idea like what's going to be the different steps. Even if I got the first call with the recruiter, I already knew what's going to happen. So my brain was prepared. And then, yeah, technical gap was there, but every company like Google or Amazon, they provide enough time for you to prepare. So I used YouTube primarily to prepare for the gaps, to get familiar with the AWS services. System design is a big part of this role because you need to suggest the customers with their architectures or create new architecture that they will use in future. So system design course, I took one from Udemy, and there are plenty of AWS system design videos available in YouTube. I did all of that. So that was the technical part. And another part in the preparation was leadership principles, because in Amazon interviews, 60 to 70% of the interview topic will revolve around your Amazon's leadership principles. So you need to find out examples from your past career about those, leadership principle examples. You need to create a story in star format, and you need to explain that story to the interviewer, and they will dive deep into that.
I,
So every small detail you need to prepare for that. So I prepared almost 35 stories from my past experience
wow. Okay.
and also from the college. I mean, if your professional experience is not enough, you can also take examples from your college days as well.
Okay.
And those were, I mean, especially for Amazon interviews, that's a very important part.
I see. Yeah, I've heard about the star method that they follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting to know that. And did you have any mentors or colleagues who guided you during this transition? Like how important was their support if you had any
I
mentors?
didn't have any mentor or colleague, but there is one YouTuber called Cloud with Raj. So he's also a principal solutions architect at AWS New York. So I followed whatever he has mentioned in his videos. So that was very helpful.
Okay.
So nothing came outside of what he has
Wow.
guided in his videos. So yep, like if you that 1 week that I spent to find out the resources, this was one of the resources. So I think before any interview, everybody should spend at least 3, 4 days to gather all the resources from all the places.
Okay, that's an interesting tip. But I've also seen that you're before you even moved to AWS, you had started doing some AWS certifications already, right? Um,
No, I did all the AWS certifications after I came to AWS.
oh,
So
really?
prior
Okay.
to AWS, I had certifications in Google Cloud. So I had 4 certifications in GCP when I was working in Google. And after I came to Accenture, I did the Terraform one, Terraform Associate certification. I also tried the CK, Certified Kubernetes Administrator, but I failed that one. And yep, after that, I till date I have done 4 AWS certifications, and all I did after coming to AWS.
So meaning like if someone wants to get into AWS architect role, so they do not have to do any certifications prior to joining that role. Like,
Not necessary. I mean, if you have the skills needed to do the job, certification it doesn't matter because
so how,
certification will just provide you L100 knowledge.
right, agreed.
Yeah.
But how would someone even get the job? Like, I mean, get the interview call, if they don't have how do they portray the necessary skills?
Yeah.
I'm saying.
So LinkedIn must be updated all the time. So I update my LinkedIn almost every 2, 3 months. Whenever I acquire any new skill, whenever I have done any new project or something, I update that in LinkedIn. And the skills section of your LinkedIn profile that must be updated. So at max, you can add 50 skills. So
Okay.
you need to make sure that all the relevant skills are added because when recruiters search uh, for candidates, it's the skills section that gets filtered, in the search. So if the proper keywords are not there, your profile might not come into the search. But like
o-
for AWS, I was reached out by the recruiter. I didn't apply for the job.
Okay.
So
That,
yeah, and yes, so the LinkedIn profile must be updated. Your CV should be updated always, so that whenever any new opportunity comes, you can just quickly do the application there.
okay. This is really interesting. I never knew that as well. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that one. Um, so I think you kind of covered this, but just wanted to see if you have anything to add. How does your day-to-day work as an enterprise solutions architect differ from a previous role as a cloud consultant?
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, as a cloud consultant, if I have to deliver something maybe after 2 months, so it was hardcore hands-on things with every day, when I'm getting stuck, I am getting into call with my senior, then we are resolving the problem together. And then again, so every day there is to be specific targets like, okay, this by this time I need to deploy this much infrastructure. After that, I will deploy again some other infrastructure. This is how. And it's not just the deployment of infrastructure using infrastructure as code. You also need to test it thoroughly. And all these things, they used to take pretty much my entire day. And sometimes the calls used to get, you know, I mean, I remember there's been time when I started working at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I left my chair at almost 9 p.m. at the night.
God.
So there has been days, and there are always these kind of days when you are working in a delivery role, you know, because sometimes some serious issue might appear, which might take your entire day to get resolved, and they are critical. And in this kind of this role, in solutions architect role, similar thing happened during my preparation phase. I mean, after you get into AWS, there is a 3 to 4 month period. We call it embark, and that period is really a tough one. So you need to complete hundreds of tasks. You need to prepare for presentations, multiple presentations, and you need to pass it. If you don't pass it, you need to do it again and again.
Wow.
And even after that, if they even not able to satisfy the panel, then your job might be in trouble. So that was also a hard part. And for me, it took around 4 to 5 months to pass that. And yeah, and now things have become pretty normal. You know, now I don't need to work, you know, that much over hours. My work mostly finishes within 4 p.m. every day. I sit at 9 and finish everything at 4. But yeah, sometimes there might be some interesting use cases for which you know, we deploy POCs and prototypes, and those are if not for the customer, for my own interest as well. I
Mm.
don't count them as my working hours, you know, that I'm doing that for my fun. I'm building something new, so I that might be at night, like at this time I might be sitting and trying out new things for 2 3 hours. So that thing I don't count as a work. I count them as fun, but they are useful during my working hours as well. When I'll talk to the customers, I'll be able to show them that, look, I have built this thing. You might be taking this idea to your production as well. So this is how it works now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I come from a TAM background and even I love doing lab recreates. That's one of the things that I really love doing. So I can
Yeah.
totally understand.
So when it comes to TAM, so here within AWS, we have got account teams.
Mhm.
So each account team consists of the account manager who handles the commercials
Okay.
the customer. One solutions architect, that's the technical advisor, that's me. One TAM who looks after the enterprise support, escalations, monthly business reviews, all those kind of things. And a project manager from our side. We call them a CSM, Customer Success Manager.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
It's
is
kind
how
of
the team structure looks like here.
yeah, it's kind of similar in my company as well. Yes,
Yeah.
something similar. Um, and what advice would you give to professionals who are considering a similar shift to an enterprise solutions architect role?
Yeah, so my number one advice would be as this role focuses on a lot of, you know, area of technology, so you need to actually increase your breadth of knowledge, if not depth, you know. So you must be having idea about computer networking. You should know about system administration, Linux properly. You should know about system design principles, and database knowledge is also necessary. And like all the core services, I'm not talking about any specific, you know, analytics or machine learning services. You should know. You should be aware of all the core pillars of, you know, computer science, like networking, database, little bit of coding, little bit of, not much needed. And database is there, networking is there, then system administration, Linux is there. Yep, I mean, these are the things where you should, everybody should, you know, be familiar and at least have some knowledge on how the on-premises world works and how the cloud world works, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you suggest that they should do some kind of like hands-on projects or instead of doing some
Yes,
certification? Okay.
yes. So certification will just provide you level 100 knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, certification is not any valuable thing. I do them because as our KPI, we have target to do one certification per year. So that's why I do them now. And if hands-on projects is really important, because that's when you will get stuck. You will do the research and you will gain the actual knowledge when you will get stuck. Otherwise, you know, by just reading stuffs or watching videos on YouTube, that's not going to work. So everybody can do a small project on cloud. Uh, it might cost maybe what $10-15 per month, but still it's worth the spend. Like you will be able to at least do the hands-on with the latest technologies. Although I would recommend to be cautious while deploying services in cloud because you might get thousands of dollars of bill if you
Yeah.
forget to stop whatever you are deploying, or if you deploy any very costly instance for running any machine learning job. So be very careful when playing with any new project on cloud.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So I've worked with AWS, so I kind of can relate to that. But just like since you mentioned about projects, is there any particular like you followed a person you just mentioned, Raj, right? With
Yeah,
he was explaining a lot of stuff. So is there any resource that they can, where you can get these projects, like where you can get some guidance on how to build and you know
yeah.
work on these projects?
So for projects, there are plenty of projects available on GitHub. So if
Okay.
you just search with AWS project, maybe three-tier web application in AWS, GitHub. If you do this kind of searches, you will get plenty of projects there, and it has got the implementation and everything. So you just need to follow the steps and deploy it. And another way is there are projects in YouTube where they deploy the end-to-end thing, and you can do side by side by looking at them, and you can learn. And third option is uh, like in AWS, we have got one website called workshops.aws. There you can search for any technology or product name, and you will get workshop list there.
Okay.
These workshops has got end-to-end implementation of many projects related to any field. It might be software development, it might be analytics, it might be machine learning. So workshops.aws is a great free resource to get started with building these projects and get the hands on.
Nice. That's interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what personal qualities or skills have you developed as a result of this transition? I think you just mentioned about presentation,
Yes,
um, right?
that's the most important skill that I have developed after this transition, I would say. Because now like I'm also going into AWS reInvent. I'm going to be a speaker there this year, and this year back in April I presented in London Summit, and small scale events, they keep on happening all the time. So now I don't have that fear that I need to do weeks of preparation before any presentation. I can just now have an hour or two, look at the presentation content, and I can present them confidently by looking into the audience. And I think this is one of the most important skills that everybody should develop if they want to come into pre-sales role, or a similar role like solutions architect. If they want to be in the consultant role, then it might not be that necessary.
Okay. Yeah. And congratulations for that. I've seen that post of that you presented in London Summit.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, congratulations. Also, I want to know if you could do anything differently in your transition, what would it be? Like when you were transitioning, was there anything that you felt that, oh, I should have, maybe learned this or spent time on certain things?
Maybe one thing I would do, I could have done differently is, uh, initially, I think most of the people do this. I mean, whenever any presentation opportunity of this kind of thing comes, everybody is in fear, like how the session will go. And sometimes we also avoid, we used to avoid these kind of sessions as well, and maybe offer it to someone who is more senior or seasoned with, presenting. And so I also missed a few of those opportunities during my initial year at AWS, and I think maybe I shouldn't have missed those. I mean, yeah, the session might have gone, you know, uh, a little bit weird or wrong, but still, I could have overcome the difficulties that I faced over the initial months that could have gone uh, a little bit earlier, maybe. So
Okay.
that's one thing. Apart from that, I think everybody went how it should have been went.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Um, are there any common misconceptions about this role, enterprise solutions architect, that you would like to address?
Yeah, one misconception is that many people think that you need to be familiar with coding or you need to be really good at coding. So this role doesn't have any relation with coding. If you can understand a little bit of coding, it might be Python, it might be Java, then it's good enough. Otherwise, if you don't know coding, that's also all right. We have plenty of solutions architects who have come from different backgrounds like databases, networking, where they didn't have to do any kind of coding in their career. But yeah, knowing coding always helps. Like right now, the prototypes that I build, if you don't know coding, then you again need to learn them and then implement. Otherwise, to get it, I mean, to pass the interview, coding doesn't have that much importance.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for that information. I think I'm almost done with all of my questions that I have. Did you have anything to mention other than what we have just discussed?
No, I mean, for the candidates who are, interested in this role, I would say that everybody should have at least 3 to 4 years of experience before coming into this role, because it requires a little bit diverse kind of experience. And yeah, it's okay if you don't have that. Like, for example, we hire specialist solution architects as well, like analytics specialist solution architect or machine learning specialist solution architect. So one person might come from a background of, like from analytics background where he might not have any expert to networking. So
Right.
that's also okay. And but still, having 3 to 4 years of at least experience and some breadth around, different areas of technology would really help.
Would definitely help. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So yeah, thank you so much. This is really helpful. I'm sure that whoever's going to watch, especially aspiring to be a solutions architect, it's going to be really, really helpful for them.